Virgo, even you weren't expecting this gift from God in your life this week. There's a strange thing that almost every Virgo does without realizing it when something too good to be true comes their way. They look for the flaw before feeling the joy. Have you noticed this in yourself? What if I told you that this week there's a gift coming your way that won't pass your usual inspection because it wasn't meant to be earned, it was meant to be received? You learned from a very young age that the good things in life come as a reward, that there's an equation, an effort proportional to the result, a grade you get after studying the entire subject. But what's coming this week doesn't follow that logic. And that's exactly why a part of you is already suspicious even before you know what it's about. There is a huge difference between what Virgo builds with their own hands and what Virgo receives without asking for it. And it is precisely in this second type of gift that the deepest discomfort of their sign resides, because it doesn't come with instructions for use. It doesn't come with an expiration date. It doesn't come with the guarantee that you earned it. Think about it. Since childhood, you've learned that the world rewards those who try harder, those who double-check, those who don't leave anything unfinished. This has become like a muscle inside you, a reflex, almost a silent prayer you repeat every day without realizing it. If I do it right, something good will happen. But lately the numbers just don't add up, do they? You did everything right, again. And yet, that emptiness remained there, discreet, waiting. Because there's a difference between deserving and allowing. And Virgo, as much as it masters the first word, has an almost strange relationship with the second. Let me tell you something you may never have noticed about yourself. Every time something good comes into your life without you having worked for it, a part of you gets suspicious. An inner voice, polite but firm, asks, "What did I do to deserve this?" And if the answer doesn't come quickly, you almost push the good thing away just to maintain control of the situation. This has a name. This is a pattern. And it originated in a place much older than you might think. Deep down, Virgo learned early on that love was conditional, that attention came after the task was accomplished, that affection had a price, and that price was perfection. So, you became a machine of merit. Efficient, reliable, exhausted. And it is precisely here, in this silent exhaustion, that God chooses to enter, not through the front door, where you have already lined up all your merits like a resume. He enters through the back window, the one you didn't even remember leaving open, on the day you simply stopped trying to control everything. This week, something will come knocking at your door that doesn't fit your internal effort and reward plan. And your first instinct will be to be suspicious, to question, to look for the catch. But what if, for the first time, you simply let this gift exist, without needing to prove that you deserved it? This changes something inside you. It breaks a pattern that comes from a long time ago, from a child who learned to try too hard to be seen, and who today, as an adult, still expects applause before accepting a hug. Pay close attention to how you treat the good things that have already happened in your life. You remember the details, the times, every step you took to get there. But you almost never remember the feeling of simply receiving, because receiving, for Virgo, has always seemed like dangerous territory, a place where you have no control over the outcome. And that, deep down, is more frightening than any failure. But the gift that's coming doesn't ask for your control. It asks for your permission. And here lies the quietest paradox of your sign. You are capable of organizing the entire world around you, predicting problems before they exist, fixing what no one else noticed was broken, but faced with a freely given blessing, you freeze. Because giving freely doesn't come with an instruction manual, and you were trained to live by manuals. Perhaps this week is the moment when that gear finally grinds differently. Perhaps the question is no longer, what do I need to do to deserve this? But another, more uncomfortable, more honest one. What do I need to let go of to let this in? What do I need to let go of to let this in? This question kept nagging at me for a long time, long before I understood that it didn't have a quick answer. It was while searching for answers that I found this digital book. The 12 Laws of the Universe That Help the Zodiac Sign Overcome Spiritual Envy isn't a rule book. It's almost the opposite for a Virgo mind. It's an invitation to stop controlling every variable and learn to recognize what's already ready to come to you. It doesn't teach you to do more. It teaches you to see deeper, to notice what was hidden behind your own demands, and for someone who constantly checks every detail of their own life, that's a silent and definitive turning point. If you've made it this far, it's because something in this text touched a place you don't usually show. Perhaps you're still processing why you recognized so much of yourself in these words. This discomfort isn't bad. It's a sign that something within you is ready to change, and delaying this shift only prolongs the exhaustion of always needing to earn everything twice before accepting that it's enough. The link is in the first pinned comment, but be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. Tell me in the comments, when was the last time you received something nice and your first reaction was to be suspicious? There's a moment right in the middle of the routine when Virgo finds themselves doing something strange, reviewing a moment of joy as if it were a document, searching for the hidden flaw within what should be nothing but good. Have you ever noticed that? That second when, in the middle of a compliment, your mind is already calculating what it will cost to accept it. This habit has much deeper roots than perfectionism. It stems from a protective system you built when you were young, when you discovered that being useful guaranteed a safe place in the world, and that being loved for free seemed too good to be true. So you traded gratuitous affection for competence, and it worked for a while. You became indispensable. But indispensable and loved aren't always the same thing, and a part of you always knew that, even without saying it aloud. Now think about the gift that's arriving this week. It doesn't ask for your merit sheet. It simply knocks on the door. And it's precisely this lack of demand that makes Virgo more uncomfortable than any external pressure ever could. Because ultimately, if the present doesn't demand anything of you, it also doesn't give you control over what to do with it later. And for you, control has always been synonymous with security. But there's one thing no one has told you. Controlling everything also means never truly resting, never completely letting go, never letting anything simply happen without your supervision. And perhaps the greatest gift God can give you this week isn't a specific event, a piece of news, a visible turning point. Perhaps it's the silent permission to stop monitoring your own life for a moment. Have you ever experienced this? Staying, even for just a few minutes, without checking if everything is all right? Most Virgos have never tried it because the idea alone sounds dangerous, but it is precisely in this small void, in this uncontrolled space, that grace has room to enter without being interrupted by your constant vigilance. There's a scene that repeats itself in the lives of many Virgos, and almost no one realizes how revealing it is. It's that moment when someone offers help, a simple gesture, a favor without ulterior motives, and your first reaction isn't gratitude. It's discomfort, an almost physical urge to refuse, to say you don't need it even when you do. Because accepting help means, in your internal vocabulary, admitting a weakness you've spent your whole life trying to hide. But that's not strength. It's fear disguised as self-sufficiency, and the worst part is that this fear has a cost that no one shows you up front. It isolates you precisely when you need company the most. It teaches you to carry everything alone, and then makes you feel lonely for carrying everything alone without realizing that you were the one who closed the door. This same mechanism, this almost automatic rejection of what comes easily, is what's at stake now, in the face of the gift this week brings. Because not every gift comes wrapped in recognizable effort. Some come as a coincidence too good to be a coincidence. A door that opens without you pushing, a relief that arrives even before you ask for help. There's a pattern that repeats itself in the life of almost every Virgo. and it's so subtle that it goes unnoticed for years. You receive something good, and almost instantly you start wondering when it will end. It's not pessimism. It's a trained defense mechanism. If I already know it's going to end, the fall hurts less. But this mechanism comes at a high price. It prevents you from living in the present while it's still the present. You spend today's joy fearing tomorrow's loss, and in the end, you never fully enjoy either today or tomorrow. This pattern goes way back. It stems from a time when losing something good hurt so much that your nervous system decided, without consulting you, that it would be safer never to place too much trust in anything good. And since then, you treat every blessing as a loan, not a gift. But what's coming this week isn't a loan. And maybe it's time to learn the difference firsthand, not just in theory. If this cycle of distrust sounds all too familiar, there's a structured path to dismantle exactly this type of pattern, understanding how the Virgo mind transforms abundance into a threat without realizing it. The digital book, The 12 Laws of the Universe That Help This Zodiac Sign Overcome Spiritual Envy, dedicates a central part precisely to this. How to recognize when you are sabotaging your own good for fear of losing it later. It's a practical tool for those who are tired of ruining the present for fear of the future. The last copies are leaving the catalog because demand grew too fast for the available stock. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. There is yet another layer to this story, one that almost no Virgo admits aloud. The fear that if she stops trying so hard, no one will notice her anymore. That her worth is tied to performance, and without performance, she simply disappears from the radar of those she loves. This fear is old, and it lies to you every day. It makes you chase after recognition instead of simply existing and letting good things find you without needing to prove anything. And it's curious, because the more you strive to be seen, the more tired and invisible you feel inside, as if all that productivity were a curtain, and behind it, a tired person just wanting to be loved without having to produce proof of it. This gift that God has prepared for you this week can be exactly that, a reminder that you are already enough before doing anything, not after, before. What if just this week you let someone else handle a detail that would normally be yours alone, without correcting it, without revising it, without taking back control halfway through? It seems small, but for Virgo, this is revolutionary. When this genuine surrender happens, even if only once, something reorganizes itself inside. It's as if the body remembers, even if only for a second, that rest is possible outside of constant vigilance. And that second, however brief, is enough to plant a seed of trust that didn't exist before. Those who have experienced this moment know it is unforgettable. And those who haven't yet usually resist until life insists enough to force a pause. For those who feel they are at this turning point, understanding for the first time how much self-demand has a real emotional cost, there is material that addresses this transition in depth. The same digital book, The 12 Laws of the Universe That Help the Zodiac Sign Overcome Spiritual Envy, has an entire chapter on how to transform excessive control into conscious discernment without losing the analytical essence that makes you who you are. It's not about ceasing to be a Virgo. It's about stopping using your gifts against yourself. Access is becoming limited due to high demand last week. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. There's one last layer to this story, perhaps the most delicate of all. It's the idea that deserving and gratitude exist on opposite sides within you. That being grateful for something means admitting you didn't earn it, and that, to your ego trained on achievement, sounds almost like a defeat. But gratitude is not surrender. Gratitude is recognition, and recognizing that something good arrived without needing to be forcibly snatched from the universe doesn't diminish its value. It only reveals that you were always worthy, even on the days you did less, even on the days you rested, even on the days you simply existed without producing anything. This week, life isn't inviting you to chase after another achievement. It's inviting you to stand still long enough to realize that the present moment has already arrived, and it's not waiting for your technical approval to become real. There's a silent scene that almost every Virgo has experienced and rarely talks about aloud. Seeing someone receive something good, something that seemed too easy, and feeling for a second a pang that isn't anger, isn't malice, but isn't pure joy either. It's that discomfort of watching other people's good fortune from the sidelines while you remain in line, doing everything right and still waiting. Nobody calls it by its real name. They call it comparison, silly envy, a small thing that shouldn't bother someone as aware as you. But inside, this feeling carries a deeper weight, the suspicion that perhaps the universe distributes good things by luck and not by merit. And that's unbearable for someone who has built their entire life believing that merit is proven through effort. Have you ever caught yourself thinking like this, looking at the life of someone who seems to have less discipline, less care, fewer sleepless nights trying to do everything right, and yet still receives what you worked so hard to achieve? This doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you someone who confused justice with generosity, because the gift that arrives this week isn't being weighed on a scale that compares you to anyone else. It doesn't have a queue. It doesn't wait for its turn to come after others. But this logic is hard to accept when your entire emotional development has been built on invisible rankings, on who tried harder, who deserved it first. And therein lies a subtle trap. While you expend energy comparing the size of what you received with the size of what the other person received, you lose the ability to fully experience your own present moment. The mind becomes too busy calculating equality to actually enjoy what is already in your hand. This spiritual envy, this finer and more disguised version of comparison, doesn't stem from malice. It stems from scarcity, from the old belief that there's only a limited amount of good things circulating in the world, and if someone else has taken theirs, there's less left for you. But abundance doesn't work like a breadline. The gift that's arriving to you this week didn't take anyone's place, and it doesn't need to be compared to anyone else's gift to be real. Perhaps the quietest invitation this week is precisely this: to stop measuring your own miracle by the yardstick of someone else's. To let what is yours arrive without needing to compete, without needing to justify why you and not someone else, without needing to prove that you deserved more than others to finally accept that you deserve enough. You wait for the final result, the stamp of approval, the confirmation, only then allowing joy to exist. And while that doesn't happen, you live in a state of suspension, almost of restraint, as if releasing emotion too soon would invite bad luck to interfere. But life doesn't always warn you when the outcome is already guaranteed. Sometimes it has already happened, silently, and you continue watching a process that has already ended, without realizing that you can finally breathe. Perhaps this is another layer to this week's gift, not just what arrives, but the permission to celebrate before being absolutely certain you can. To trust the movement before demanding final proof. To rejoice along the way and not just at the finish line. This may seem insignificant to those who don't carry this burden, but for you, who have learned to postpone every good feeling until you're sure it's permanent, this is almost a complete emotional re-education. In the end, perhaps the greatest lesson Virgo needs to learn is not about how to acquire more good things, but about how to receive them without dismantling them with their own distrust. There is a silent strength in those who can simply say, "Thank you," without explaining, without justifying, without calculating the return. The gift that arrived this week is not a test. It's not another task to be completed with excellence. It's simply that, a gift. And perhaps for the first time, you can simply hold it in your hands, feel its weight, and let it exist exactly as it is, without needing to deserve every inch of it. There is a quiet beauty in this that only those who carry the soul of Virgo can fully understand. The ability to transform demands into care, control into discernment, and distrust into a more mature, quieter, yet personal faith. And it is in this encounter between what you have always been able to build and what you finally learn to receive that the most complete version of who you were always destined to be resides.